questions?
Hey Shannon, with that, if, when we balance the budgets in December, what does that 721 do for that unappropriated money? Anything, or is that just there to look like, I mean, can you explain that?
Well, the budget resets every year so that, it's figured in the carryover for the revenue that Bobby Hill calculates. But when we start a new year, we start with a new revenue forecast, and then we have our requested budgets. So the difference between available to budget and the requested budgets is what gives us our unappropriated reserve for the year based on revenue and budget projections. So it starting in January, we'll have new budget numbers to work with.
So that 721 really means nothing, or am I understanding that wrong?
Not unless it's used,
Not unless it's used, but how do you get a negative number? Not,
because their budget, they over budget. Well, I'm not gonna say they over budget, but they have it.
Yeah, it's a
They can't
combination.
have budget. Go on.
Yeah, it's a combination of the revenues for the jail coming in better than expected, and the budgets being more budget than actually needed. So combination of those two things results in a negative for the budgets, but no cash infusions needed for the year.
okay.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Worthing? If not, thank you, Shannon. Please stay around for further discussion later.
Okay, will do.
New business. All right. We have an ordinance changing the titles and grade of various positions in Circuit Court 3 budget for 2020. It's a juvenile court budget. Would Judge Zimmerman like to speak to that?
Sure. Do I come up here?
Yes.
Okay.
Jamie Harbison, they're having a hard time hearing you, the people on Zoom, so if you could speak a little louder.
Okay.
It's not on your computer, you're gonna be speaking into the mic on the phone.
On the computer?
No, on the phone.
On the
Yep.
phone, that's what I thought, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, good evening tonight.
It's not on.
Oh, it's not
You have to speak loud,
You
you
gotta
have
speak
that
to
phone
them,
up
too.
there.
Oh, all right.
Use your judge voice.
I will use my judge voice. Yes, I will.
This is a microphone here.
Okay. So, good evening tonight. We're requesting a change in the budget that we submitted to request a 3% increase in 7 juvenile officers in juvenile court. Now, these officers are not JDC people. They are juvenile officers through the court. And not only do they do their day duties as intake or juvenile probation officers, they also are on call 24/7. They rotate that. So let's say law enforcement calls in the middle of the night and they want a kid taken to detention. That juvenile officer whips out their risk assessment and they assess the kid to see if they're at high risk, medium risk, and whether or not they do need to go to JDC. So that's keeping our numbers down at JDC, and we're being even more mindful with that given the COVID. And so that juvenile officer has the training to give that assessment. They decide not to detain the juvenile in the middle of the night. They can have the juvenile have an ankle monitor or release to a parent with a quick turnaround with a court date. Some of the high points in our request are that these officers, these juvenile court officers, the 7 that I'm talking about, that we're requesting a 3% raise. Nowadays, everything's electronic and it's on context system. And our officers now, in addition to meeting with kids and families, have to complete all these forms in the computer to put the data in the computer for each child, each case. And this is in addition to what the circuit clerks do. And this has been a mandate through the legislature on the Safe Kids, Family First, to keep kids that are not bogged down in the system. So there's more data entry for these juvenile officers. Also, the 7 that I'm requesting the 3% increase for these staff that they're not included are the ones that have worked for us less than a year. So these are staff that have worked more than a year for Washington County, and no supervisors are included on those 7 positions that we're asking a 3% increase on. The next thing that I want to point out that's very important is that it's a budget neutral request. So if you look at our budget that we submitted to the Quorum Court for 2021, and you look at in the 2021 budget that we submitted for our salaries, that is $797,537 for salaries. And if you look at the second page of our submitted budget for 2021, you'll see their third position from the bottom, a social worker for juvenile court. And we tried really hard to hire a social worker for that position to counsel with kids and families. We got no takers for the whole year that we sent it out for advertising. So that $42,848 for a grade 18 social worker spot has not been filled. And that has now been reduced to a grade 16 so we can include an additional officer. And even with that grade being reduced to a grade 16, if you look at what our new budget would be with a 3% increase for these 7 positions, if you look at that new budget that we're asking you all to approve, look at the top there, 2021 budget. The salaries would be $7,959.96. Yes?
Okay, thank you. Never
Sorry,
mind.
I don't have the little numbers.
I'm trying to find you. That's what
Okay.
I'm trying to do.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I was just proud I could read the numbers when I had glasses on.
Good. We need a magnifying glass. Would you mind
Repeating that? Sure.
going back from budget neutral line item where you were looking at, you said it could be budget neutral
Because we didn't fill that social worker position,
Okay.
and it's had $42,848 in that position sitting there, and it's a grade 18, and that's on the budget we submitted.
Right.
And then when we re-rated that, help me, Norma. Talk over there.
Yes.
So last month, we came in, Judge Zimmerman was out, she was, had
Had the
COVID.
COVID.
So I presented, and it was approved that the social worker position would be reduced to a juvenile officer, juvenile probation position, which is a grade 15. So that brought our budget for 2020 and also for 2021 down, and it gave us a lot of extra money in the budget. Therefore, if the 3% increase is approved for the 2020 budget, we're still going to have an excess of $14,000. This is what the comptroller has informed me. That even with a 3% increase for 2020 for 7 positions and 1 position that was graded 2 grades higher, she went from a grade 10 to a grade 13. With all that included, we would still have $14,878,000 of excess money in the budget for salaries for 2020. Now, 2020, I'm talking about 2020 right now. For 2021 is what Judge Zimmerman was referring to. If that is still, if it goes over, because we had submitted a budget that was a lot higher because we had that social worker position. With that social worker position now being a grade 15, now the 2021 budget is less than what we had initially submitted. Even with a 3% increase, if it's approved, the 2021 budget would still be less than what we had initially submitted for approval. Does that make sense?
Better than what I said. And I want to remind everyone that we have, hallelujah, an additional judge, an 8th Division judge. She'll take the bench. That'll be Diane Warren on January the 4th. I've already set cases. That judge, pursuant to our administrative plan, will hear half of the juvenile cases. And so all the 20 juvenile officers will still be working for both courts. So it's going to be a balancing act. So these people will be handling those cases as well.
Okay, JP Egan.
Thank you. If we approve this 3% increase for those 7 officers for 2020, we need to make sure that they are included in the 2021 budget with their titles and everything, because I don't want to be short like we have been in the past. You see what I'm saying? So
Yep.
there's going to be an amendment, if you could submit an amendment to your budget for the 2021 budget.
Yes, ma'am. And we haven't done that because we needed it to be
Correct.
approved first. Yes,
Correct.
ma'am.
All right, JP Deacon.
These positions are funded from the general fund, that's correct, right?
Yes, sir. And may I add that the state also refunds the counties up to $15,000 per officer.
So these raises are retroactive for 2020? Because I'm seeing down here that the total cost for 2020 is $131,000. So that's a big jump. I mean, it's not like we're going to take this step for the rest of the year. It looks to me like it's retroactive. What's the total cost there?
I'm sure I understand.
I think what you're asking is, does this 3% raise start now when the full quorum court approves it?
Correct.
Or does it go retroactive back to January?
Right.
It's my understanding it starts now,
Now.
not going back. So, the figure that you cited, Justice, I don't know where that is.
The second to the last paragraph down here, it says, you know, we requested 3% raise, 7 slots. Our department would need $116,816.
Yes.
Is that the number for this raise?
That's what the comptroller gave me, and the comptroller said that we have, we would need $160,816 to pay from now to the end of the year. We have $131,694 remaining balance for salaries, and so therefore we would still have an excess of $14,878.
So your understanding is the 116 is just all of your salaries?
Right.
To take you to the end of the year?
Right, not the additional requested 3%.
Do you have an idea of what this cost us in 2021?
Yes,
I mean, I'm seeing here that it's neutral, but what's the price tag on this, the bottom line?
that would be
I think it's this one.
$288,156.92 is what we received from the comptroller's office.
Did these individuals not participate in the $130 pay increase that we just gave them?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Don't know. Question I don't really answer.
Yeah.
We just gave the county,
Okay, well, we'll have to look at that because of budget controls. Last year, when someone got a raise like this, then they were not, depending how much the raise was in dollars, then they were not eligible for the increase given by the county.
yeah.
So, we'll have to look at
And
that.
I think, my deal is, we're all committed to each other in the county, and I think we have to ride this out together. If our collective wisdom was that everybody deserved a pay increase of $130 a pay period, I would like to see everybody commit to that. I think that's only fair. I understand your people work very, very hard, and I appreciate them 100%.
Sure. And that's a question I can't answer. You would assume they did get it,
Right,
since they're county employees.
sure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, JP Johnson?
I've got a question, Judge Zimmerman.
Yes.
And it's for, my question is the timing of the request.
Well,
I mean-
you want the politically correct answer, you want the shoot from the hip? We didn't get raises at the very end, I think it was last year or the year before, when other departments did. So if you don't ask, you don't get. And these officers work very hard.
No, I'm not questioning
Right.
that. I'm
So
looking
that's
at,
why we're asking for them now, especially when we figured out that we have the money in the budget.
okay, I I don't
So-
question that.
No,
My question is, we've been given a book that's 200 pages long since September. Every other day, I get 6 revised pages.
yes.
We're making the task very, very difficult. I'm not
No,
questioning
I
the mayor.
understand, I
okay?
understand, Justice Johnson.
Judge, could
May I
I
ask a question?
May I add that some of the state mandated changes for juvenile probation officers just went into effect in July. So the changes that Judge Zimmerman was referring to, those were just given to us as of July. We had to add those additional responsibilities to the probation officer's job description, get them re-rated, and they only went up 1 grade. And that's why Judge Zimmerman is asking for that 3%, because as the rules, I believe, unless you get 2 grades up, you don't get a raise. And that's why we're here.
All right, let me ask a question. Does the state put in money for these people's salaries also?
Up to 15,000 per person. For a certified officer,
15,000, and anything above that then
county
comes
pays.
from the county.
But the county has to pay it out first, and then the reimbursement comes from the state. Isn't that right, Brian?
I guess, I
Are you
suppose.
got your van of white over here with
Yeah.
the letters? Okay.
Okay, so, that's, you know,
Yes.
we do get some reimbursement. All right, JP Yanez,
Madam Chair, just a clarification on that extra pay period. How is that going to work with raises?
well, that's a complete different issue. It doesn't have anything really to do with raises.
Well, I mean, just calculating that extra pay period, do they have to incorporate it in their budget now? Or is that something we're going to take care of
It's
later?
already been incorporated. We'll be voting on that later, later in the meeting.
Okay, just verifying. Thank you.
Any other questions? JP Diggins.
I make a motion that we postpone this to the December budget meeting. It seems like it's a little bit premature, and it's contingent upon some other decisions that we need to make
Right.
before that time.
Second,
All right, I have a motion and a second to postpone till December.
May I ask a
Are there
question?
any other, okay, JP, Judge Zimmerman, you're.
I want to hear, maybe Justice Deakins can answer this. Is this $130 per pay period already in effect, or is this something the quorum court's voting on?
We've already voted on it.
Okay, so we didn't know about that. So if that is about a 3% increase, then it seems to me that we got our increase, and we wouldn't ask for this.
So it'd be prudent to discuss this maybe
Right,
in December when
'cause
you
this
guys
is-
have had a chance to
Yeah,
analyze it.
so I
see what's
totally
going
get
on.
that. So we'll look that up, how much would it be versus 130?
Right, thank you.
All right, JP Thompson,
correct me if I'm wrong, that's $130 a month, is it not?
I may have misspoke, yeah, sorry.
It's not 130 per pay period.
Per month.
per month.
And can I say something?
Just a minute, it's about, what, $1,460 a year, so you're 3%. All right, JP Lemmy,
Well, that's what I was trying to, whenever we was going through that, I was trying to kind of average that on a 3%, and I think that's kind of what
that's
we landed,
15, I mean.
between 3 and 4%.
So if you all have already approved that, and that's about what we're asking for, we're not gonna ask for that on top of, we'll just politely decline once we do our math. And Mr. Math Man's already done the math.
Well, I appreciate that, but I assume nothing in this chair anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we still gonna have to vote on the title change and grade changes in personnel?
Yes. Yes.
So the way that the ordinance is gonna have to be rewritten, correct?
All right, well, okay, just a minute.
I don't think
we're gonna-
the ordinance should be fine. The ordinance is just addressing the titles and the grades.
Okay, so that has to be passed tonight to go to the full quorum court.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? If not, Ms. Patty, call the roll.
Maybe on the question,
think Pond has it.
JP Pond has it.
Okay, I did,
These positions have to be approved without the,
okay, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. If you would like to amend that motion,
I'd like to I think we need to hear from the personnel chairman first before I make a motion to amend without the 3% increase, the titles and grade changes.
JP Pond, you're recognized.
Yes. I was just before the vote gonna ask you exactly what we're voting on at this time. Somebody make that,
We're voting to postpone it to the December meeting.
all right.
The
Thank you.
3%.
All right. Ms. Patty, will you please call the roll?
Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Chandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
Yes.
Butch Pond,
Yes,
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yonez,
Yes.
Patrick Deacons,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
This passes.
All right. We will take this up in December and make corrections that need to be made, okay?
Please remind
Thank
me
you.
that the titles and everything has to be. Yes. Okay, thank
All
you.
right, moving on to number
Thank you all. I'm gonna go do the math right now.
eight, an ordinance recognizing additional revenue of $35,227.80 in the DEM fund, which is, Department of Emergency Management, and appropriating $35,227.80 from the DEM fund to the DEM budget for 2020.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we pass this ordinance.
All right, I have a motion to pass it.
Second. And
All right,
to the program for approval.
Susan Cunningham seconds it. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, okay.
Jay Hires.
JP Hires,
Thank you. I was just wondering if you could tell me what is this grant and what is this money actually going towards?
Emergency Management, you'll have to read the ordinance, it's on page 8. Well, Brian, would you read the ordinance, please?
Sorry, gotta switch screens here. Okay, this is an ordinance recognizing additional revenue of $35,227.80 in the DEM fund and appropriating that amount from the DEM fund to the DEM budget for 2020. This is money that Washington County received from, for their assistance in the Hurricane Dorian project. That was a multi-agency project or response where several other agencies responded as well. And so the county received a lump sum. If you'll remember last month, we appropriated a little over $4,000 into the DEM budget, expecting that we were going to appropriate individually to each one of these different entities. However, that all got paid out of the DEM budget. There were like 4 or 5 agencies, their amounts got paid out of the DEM budget. And so this is basically money going in to reimburse. We already had the money, but it's going back in to cover the checks that were written out of the DEM budget.
Could you hear what he had to say, JP Hires?
Yes, thank you.
Right. Are there any other questions? Ms. Patty, will you please call the roll?
Public comment?
Oh, public comment, sorry. No public comment. Patty, please call the roll.
Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Chandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
Yes.
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deacons,
Yes.
What's that?
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
What that means?
This passes.
All right, we're ready to go on to a similar ordinance, number 9, ordinance anticipating additional revenue of $1,129, $129,349 in the DEM grant fund and appropriating the amount of $1,129,349 from the DEM grant fund to various Homeland Security budgets for 2020.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to pass this on to the full report on the consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. J.P. Johnson beat you, Butch, sorry. All right. Any further discussion or any other questions?
JP Eva Madison.
J.P. Eva Madison, you're recognized.
So I'm curious what purposes this money can be used for. Who can offer me that explanation?
Well, I have a list here of items that they're gonna spend it for. Small equipment, parts and repair, training, education,
Well, that,
so on.
Madam Chair, I think that's just the line items that it's being dispensed into. I'm curious, with respect to the grant funding itself, what can the money be used for? I mean, knowing that it's going into a small equipment line item is not, doesn't help.
I don't know that. I just know what they wanna use it for.
Okay, it's very hard to hear you tonight. It's like you're not talking into your microphone, but
Well,
it's my
I'm
my
trying.
understanding that the last grant they received of this same variety, they still have a large portion of it left. Do we know if that's accurate?
I do not know.
Okay.
John Luther's not here. Is John Luther on the, okay, he's not. So you might, call John or ask him to be present at the next meeting.
Well, I think it would be nice if people would come talk about their items so we didn't have to delay it. I mean, this is a very, very large grant that we're getting from the federal government. And I know I know it's sort of silly to question free money, but someone's paying for it. Our taxpayers, the citizens we represent, are paying for it. And it's a very, very sizable grant for not having any idea what it's going to be used for or what it could be used for. And my understanding is that Homeland Security grants can be used for a number of purposes, including perhaps measures at the jail. And so if we've got money laying around from Homeland Security that could be used at the jail, then we need to know that, because we're in a situation where the jail might need that money. And so I just don't have enough information to approve this. I want to accept the grant money, but I want to make sure it's going into the right places that need it. So, I mean, this is the same department that bought a bomb throwing robot, which, I don't know that we really need one of those very much. So I think we need to making sure that when we accept this grant, the money is going into the most appropriate line items. So I'll be abstaining, and I think it should not be on a consent agenda.
Okay, J.P. Pond,
Yes. I'm gonna consider this a little more seriously. And I don't believe we need to be taking hearsay as reasons this money might not have been spent or why it's going to be spent or anything like that. There have been times in the past, maybe way in the past of Washington County history, where maybe money wasn't spent quite the way it should have been. And when that ever happens, then it takes quite some time to regain the trust of the folks passing out the grant money. And I really do not believe that that sort of thing is happening now. No, I have no reason to believe that it is. And I'm going on the faith of the people we work with, the elected officials and department heads of this county. I have every bit of the confidence I need in these folks. I'll be voting for this, and I really, if individuals on the court or in public making public comment have some kind of evidence to bring forth that there's some reason to cause doubt about the way these funds are being spent, I'd be interested in seeing it. Otherwise, I am going to consider it nothing more than hearsay. Thank you.
Okay, JP Sue Madison, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would have to agree that this one seems a little fuzzy. And given the size of this grant, it's somewhat surprising that there's nobody here with more information to be able to answer to this. And, you know, we've had some loose money in the budget that's resulted in dams being built that nobody knew about or got permission for. So there's some slack money laying around. And I don't think this is a good place for us to be passing on slack money. And I'll be voting no on this.
All right. Any other comments for JP Ecke?
This is grant money, and this is our citizens' federal tax dollars returning to Arkansas, so that way we don't have to appropriate $1,129,349 out of general fund for emergency services. Our constitutional duty as a justice of the peace is to provide for services. It is not our responsibility to micromanage and tell each department head where their money needs to go or where it should go. Now, our grants administrator has guidances. They applied for the grant. It's supposed to go to these small equipment, parts, repairs, training, and whatnot. It is our job, our constitutional duty, to appropriate this, to receive it, and to appropriate it. Not to reject it, not to leave it on the table. We are to receive it and make sure that this department is properly funded. That's our job. To do anything else is going beyond the scope of your constitutional duty.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, public comment. Do we have any
AJ.
public comment? Who?
Oh, Judge Wood can speak to it, he says.
Judge Wood?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Judge Wood?
Hey,
You're right.
again, I appreciate the comments, JP Madison, Yanez, JP Ecke. The grant, and I think we've talked about, but we probably need to again get a copy of the application. That's a federal grant, and so you have to put into that grant application, and they're going to only approve what they have. So the federal government kind of delineates what they can be used for, whether it be chemical burn, how to respond to a chemical disaster, if it's a urban search and rescue vehicle, if it's training determined and set by the federal government and state government. So that's what that grant is for, and that's how it will be used. It can't be used for anything but what they approved it for. But again, that's delineated in the application process. And so for again, having some questions, I think that's easy enough to get you guys a copy of what that application looked like. Because they wouldn't approve it if it was for something other than what they have set those monies for regarding it being a federal grant. And it can only be used for those purposes. Thanks.
Thank you, Judge Wood. JP Yanez.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Judge Wood, for that explanation. Can we get a copy of the grant just for transparency purposes of what exactly we said we were going to be using it for?
I'll visit with them to make sure you guys get a copy of that.
Great. Thank you, Judge Wood.
All right. JP Eva Madison, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What I did not hear in the judge's response was what could the money have been used for, and was there money left over from the grant previously? I understand that we need to be prepared for emergencies, but if this money could have been used for a more commonly needed purpose, like it's something at the jail, I think this body deserves to know it before we exercise our constitutional duty of appropriating the money. Thank you.
Yeah. And I will just say that JP Harbison, yes, there is money left, and that's again waiting for either training from the federal government or state government. Again, obviously a lot of things going on with COVID and pulling back of training and all. But to your point, having that application so you guys can see what that looks like, we can get that to you guys.
Okay. JP Washington, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move that we table this until the December meeting, at least until we have an opportunity to view the material that Judge Wood is sending us. Just like Justice Yanez mentioned, just for transparency, because our constituents are going to ask questions and we need to be able to provide them the justification. So I would hate for us to vote something down because we don't have enough information. So I would like to move that we table this until next.
Second. Second.
And a second, so we have to, okay. We have to vote on the table before, correct?
Correct.
JP Yanez.
Yeah, just one quick remark, just with grant experience. We already wrote the grant, so we already dictated what we were going to be using it for. So I think going forward, I mean, the court might want to be more involved in that grant writing process so you know what the funds are going to be used for. Because at this point, we can just see what the grants are going to be used for, but I don't know if any changes can be done since it is a federal grant and they've already awarded the money. So just that thought.
Thank you. JP Pond.
Point of order, I don't believe there's supposed to be any more discussion after a motion to table in a second, is there? You might ask the parliamentarian.
Debate is, yeah, on a motion to table, it is debatable.
It's debatable.
All right.
Motion. All right, JP Duncan.
I don't know why we as a court would vote against a grant that we've already applied for and been given. Obviously, I mean, the work's been done, so I think it's not a wise decision to postpone this. Let's take the money that we've worked hard to get. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments on the court? Okay.
Sue Madison.
JP Sue Madison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To quote a fellow JP, I'm not going to vote for something that includes voting for whatnot.
Okay, thank you. Public comment?
No public comment on the motion.
What?
This is a motion to table, there's no public comment.
Oh, okay. We're gonna vote on the
Madam Chair.
motion to,
May I make a?
Talk to us.
JP Madison, Eva Madison. You're recognized.
There's a lot of public interest on this issue. I think we have a lot of people that are attending, and I would make a motion to suspend the rules to allow public comment before we vote to table.
I'm leaving.
Oh,
Second.
okay,
With
okay.
multiple
I'm
hands
asking
raised,
the
so I
parliamentary
think it might help
forum
us with our decision.
You can suspend the rules and allow public comment. It takes a supermajority, so it'll take 10 votes in favor.
Okay, it takes 10 votes to allow public comment. Miss Patty, there was a motion and a second, for public comment. So, Miss Patty, please call the roll.
Sam Duncan,
No.
Shonda Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
No.
Butch Pond,
Come on, Butch.
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
No.
Susan Cunningham,
No.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
No.
Lisa Ecke.
Sure, why not?
I have
Sure.
8, 4, and
8
5.
It's not a supermajority.
I have 8, 4, and 5 against.
Okay, Brian, would you please, reel us parliamentarian on that? Does it need a supermajority 10?
It needs a supermajority. Yes, the 2/3 vote, and there are only, how many, 14?
Yeah,
So,
10.
yeah,
Got
8.
13
So it
votes.
takes 10, yeah, still,
I'm not voting, so.
yeah, it fails.
It failed. Okay, now let's go back to,
What was the result, Madam Chair?
it was
Failed.
Motion fails.
5 against and 8 for, but it needed to be a 2/3 vote for public comment. All right, now, we're back to, the amendment to table to December. The motion to table to December. All right, Miss Patty, will you please call the roll?
Sam Duncan,
No.
can you repeat?
No.
No? Okay. Shonda Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
No.
Butch Pond,
No.
Lance Johnson,
No.
Susan Cunningham,
No.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
No.
Lisa Ecke.
No.
Fails.
All right, the motion failed. Now, we are back to the original motion to pass the grant. All right. Please call the roll, Patty.
Oh, hold on, you got public comment.
Oh, I've got to have public
You gotta have
comment.
public comment on it.
Okay, public
an
comment
amendment.
on the grant.
You have an amendment, you've got a motion for it, well, you have someone that, you have a JP that is asking to be
All
recognized.
right. Who?
Eva Madison,
JP Eva Madison. You're recognized.
I make a motion to amend the main motion to not have it be on the consent agenda.
Second.
That's a friendly amendment.
Okay,
No,
No?
I have to vote on it.
That's a vote.
all right.
We'll take that up first.
All right, Ms. Patty, please call the roll. Everybody understand, the motion is to remove it from the consent agenda. All right.
Dan Duncan,
No.
Shonda Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
That's fine.
That is,
Yes,
Butch Pond,
no big deal.
No.
Lance Johnson,
No,
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Dickens,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes?
all
Passes.
right. We're now back to the original motion. The motion to pass 20-0-082. Ms. Patty, please call.
Oh, you got public comment?
Oh, public comment, sorry.
Yeah, Beth Coger?
All right, Beth Cover, you're recognized.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I want to just say a few things. First of all, it's not returning money from anything. It's our taxpayer dollars. It's not hearsay. I have it, it's written in writing what it can be used for. It's not free money. There's no such thing as free money. And as far as changing budget items in the fiscal year 2018 Homeland Security Grant Program, there were 13 changes made after the budget was submitted to the ADEM. So we can change items. According to information from Bobby Hill, which she gave me last Friday, we have $877,000 left from the 2018 and the 2019 Homeland Security Grant funds. So it's not like this, evidently, I would seem to indicate that there's no urgency. Plus, we get $1.1 million for 2020. That's slightly over $2 million. Fiscal year 2020 specifically says the money can be used for communication towers and that is not considered construction. It also specifically provides that public safety entities may seek grant funding to support information technology such as broadband, infrastructure, and handheld devices like telephones and some of the stuff. I mean, a lot of the things that's covered in our communications sales tax. Projected income from the 1% sales tax for the radio system is just over $11 million. That money can only be used for those stated purposes. Will any of that money be left over for updates, repairs, things like that? Because we all know how quickly technology changes. I think that's doubtful, especially due in part to the fact that we didn't look at other options and we didn't solicit bids. And in any event, I urge the court, please don't just approve this ordinance. Do not rubber stamp it. Please exercise your due diligence and your best practices. Research and seek information and permission to use the money to help offset the cost of the communications equipment. Why not do that? That way we'll have more money left in the sales tax, which can only be used for that purpose. And hopefully you won't be coming back to taxpayers asking for more money. And 1JP asked to see it in writing. It's on page 22 and page B9 of the 2020 Homeland Security Grant Notice of Funding report. So you can, I just kind of shortened it and did a summary there, but I'll get that information too if you would like me to. Thank you, that's all.
David,
Yep. Who?
David Freeman?
All right, you're recognized, Mr. Freeman.
Hi, thank you for hearing me. I think Beth Koger, who just spoke, did a really good job of covering like detailed things. I just wanted to comment on something that was said earlier. And in regard to kind of representing constituent concerns and what the role of the quorum court is in this. And I just want to voice my constituent concern when it comes to this sort of bond, is what it does is it just pours more money into kind of like very militarized and a sort of system. And I've spoken on this before in previous quorum court meetings, but it just seems like, as a constituent, like, I know this isn't everyone's concern, but my concern is that we stop putting so much money into kind of like, I don't know, like weaponized, like this bomb throwing robot thing. I don't know. I'm not being very eloquent right now, and I apologize for that. But I'm nervous because this is kind of this is more of an ideological thing that I'm trying to voice. But I think that it is the role of the quorum court to represent the constituent interests in terms of what our county is doing and what sort of system we're investing in. And if we're investing in a system that is fiscally responsible when it comes to using grant money for infrastructure that we need, rather than infrastructure that continues violent systems, like that, I don't know. I think that's a valid thing. Sorry, I was very scattered with voicing this, but thank you for hearing my concerns.
Thank you. All right, JP Lemming?
We're still on public comment?
Yes, but, just a minute. I don't,
Yeah, there's no other public comment.
what,
No other public comment.
all right. Is it permissible to come back to the court?
He wants to use public comment time, I believe.
That's what I was gonna do.
All right, you're recognized, JP Lemming.
Well, I just wanted to say that our DEM director, John Luther, is a very, very talented young man. And being that I've been on the fire department 40 years and I've worked with him for 40 years, well, I've been around him for a long time, I don't know if it's 40. But everything that y'all talked about kind of hits home because a lot of y'all don't have a clue what kind of training it takes for the USAR team, Swift Water team. You don't have a clue how many hours them folks put in. A lot of them put it in voluntarily, don't get paid a penny. And when it goes to small equipment, a lot of that's rescue boats. And a lot of these people get out here to Devil's Den and fall off the cliffs. Well, here we go. We have to get all this equipment that y'all don't see that's in these trucks that's scattered out in these fire stations, that's scattered out in your USAR trucks. Whenever you pull one of them trucks out of a fire station, you're looking at $500,000, $750,000 for a truck to go out here and rescue people off the side of a cliff. And to go out here to the Beaver Lake and use the Swift Water team to get people out of a boat that's drowned. And so a lot of this equipment you see, maybe $200,000 to buy safety equipment anymore is absolutely nothing. So I have all the faith in the world that John Luther has put together a good grant plan to help everybody in Washington County. That man has never stole a nickel. He's never wasted a nickel. And he's got a good team around him, and we need to trust him. Thank you.
Okay.
One more, Sarah Moore. Sarah Moore?
All right, you're recognized, Sarah Moore.
Hi, Sarah Moore, Fayetteville, Arkansas. I would reiterate things that Beth Koger and David Freeman stated earlier. But Willie also brought up something that I'd love to have as a conversation with the court is, are we really aware, and when has the last audit on our inventory been done for some of the emergency management equipment that's in our possession? I'd be very interested about what we own as a county for emergency response. Like you said, this is expensive equipment because like Beth mentioned before, I mean, while what Willie said that we need these certain devices or certain equipments to be able to go and respond and be, appropriate to the needs of the community when we have these emergency response times, we also have to balance that with the fact that we're in a pandemic. And one of the things that is in the way that this grant is actually worded, when you go to read it and look at the details of it, is actually pandemic response. And I haven't heard a lot of conversation from this court about how we're responding to the pandemic. I work with individuals every day that are struggling. They're struggling to stay in their homes. They're struggling to put food on their table. they're struggling to pay for childcare. And the pandemic, the latest numbers just came out and they're astonishing that we won't reach the numbers we have right now with the pandemic until August of 21. And so I would love to hear some conversation with the court about, can we get creative with this money possibly? Can we maybe defer and not purchase some of these equipments? Maybe we need to look to be creative of how we help the people of Washington County today that are struggling with this pandemic. I hope that that could be considered. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment?
Public comment,
All
Tom.
right, we're voting on, if a grant of $129,349, for our, DEM, Department of Emergency Management. Ms. Patty, please call the roll.
Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Shonda Washington,
Abstain.
Eva Madison,
Abstain.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
No.
Willie Lemming,
Yes.
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
No.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Pass.
It passes.
All right, and go on to quorum court. Okay. We are now ready, for item number 10, which has to do with our budget. We were given two things to look at and to vote on, or to choose tonight, or three, on 10.1, would be, page 27, which includes the, EO, elected officials. EO's elected officials, the step, $130 a month raises includes a 27th pay period in 2020, and it reduces the carryover is reduced. All right, now, Bobby Hill, you mentioned, are you there?
Let me get him back up. Hold on just a sec. He is now.
Okay, he's not.
He is.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. We're
All
on.
right, let's just go to 10.1.
We're on 10.1, but we're looking at 10.2, which would be, explain the general reserve fund. Explain how that works.
Okay, well, that's, if you would go back to 10.1 real quick. This is the ordinance setting it up. I do have a question about Article 2. For my purposes, I need a exact number there. If the court so chooses to set up this fund, and my proposal was 4.5 million to be in Article 2 instead of all unappropriated reserves. For cash money, I need an exact amount, whatever y'all choose to, if you choose to do it, I just need an exact amount there. But anyway, going to 10.2, reason I thought of this is if you set up a reserve fund, separate it out of the main fund, you're you do not have to do the 10% holdback on it because there's no budget for it. And that frees up money in the general fund because you don't have to take as much holdback because you don't have as much money in the carryover and projected revenue. So, but you still need some in unappropriated reserves over there just to do adjustments throughout the year. So in this scenario, you got your elected officials, all the raises, the 27th payroll paid in 2020 is this scenario. This means your carryover will be reduced because you paid it in 2020. You would have 800,000 in unappropriated reserves in the general fund. In the general reserve fund, you'd have 4.5 million. So that would give you a total of 5,300,000 total in general reserves. So that's the scenario with the reserve fund and the 27th payroll paid in 2020. If you go to 10.3, the second scenario, let's see. This is all the raises included, and you have your 27th payroll paid in 2021 without the salaries, or cutting the salary by 26 instead of 27. So that gives you 773, 471 in unappropriated reserves and 4.5 million in reserves, giving you a total of 5.273 in that scenario. All right, the final one is 10.4. I know this is confusing because I confuse myself a lot on it, but 10.4 is all the raises in the 27th pay period paid in 2021, paid in full. So that drops your reserves down to 516. You still have your general reserve of 4.5. So that gives you just a little over $5 million mark. And that, like I said, the benefit to a savings is one thing I told you is the holdback, which you don't have to take as much. So it adds to the unappropriated reserves. And it also gives you something there. You know, a lot of people ask, well, how much do we have in reserves? And sometimes it's kind of hard to see it when you look at cash and then you look at budget. But this is 4.5 million or whatever y'all would decide. That's real money you can see. You can add to it, you can take away from it. It would be up to you. I mean, that stays as general money. It doesn't go anywhere else. There wouldn't be a budget for it, but if y'all decided to use it, I mean, you can always appropriate money from it for other purposes, but that probably wouldn't be high on your list of things to do. But the best.
Well, I may make a comment. If you did remove any of the money from the reserve fund, then you have to pay back the 10% holdback. But
it just has to be. It would still be in that fund, but if you start budgeting it out of it, then you have to go back to the 10% or the 90% rule of budgeting.
Right.
But it would still be in that reserve fund. It just wouldn't show on the unappropriated side.
These scenarios that have been presented would give us the $5 million that some of you wanted as reserves. So this is one way to do it. So, is there any discussion? Okay, J.P. Deacon.
I have a question for you, Treasurer Hill.
Okay.
In your scenario where, let me get my page right, I'm losing myself here. This, scenario 10.3. Well, let me ask you this. Here's my outlook on the 27th pay period. The hourly employees have earned that money. There is no question about that. And I think we have to digest that and put that in and do it in 2020. But to me, the salaried employees, the way it should have been handled was, their annual salary should have been calculated by dividing that salary by 27 pay periods for the year. If we move those salaries into 2021, then we could divide that salary by 27 pay periods, is that correct?
Talking about splitting up,
Yeah, I thought about if we paid the hourly in the 2020 budget, but we moved the salary, the additional payroll of the salaried employees into the 2021 budget and divided that salary then by 27 pay periods. Do any of your scenarios cover that?
I don't know if that's, I could be wrong, because that would be making, you'd have two different paydays for two sets of employees, and I would have to check on that. If that's something that could be done, I'm just not sure at this moment. It wouldn't be anything we've ever done before, but so I'm not positive on your scenario there.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we've lined out the problem. We messed up earlier in the year by not addressing this, and we've kind of stepped in it again. And while I appreciate, I really want to take care of all of our employees and stuff, but I mean, to me, that 27th pay period on a salary basis represents essentially a bonus. And I mean, I have to be realistic and look at the people of my district, and sometimes we get in this bubble down here, but the pandemic's still raging. There are a lot of people who would just like to have their job. And we're down here talking about extra pay periods and $1 million raises. I mean, I want us to appreciate the fact that we do have a different set of circumstances in this building, and we're blessed, but let's not get too greedy. Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that and see what that scenario looks like if we could split those pay periods.
Okay. J.P. Johnson.
I agree with Justice Deakins. This issue's given me heartburn since day one, and we should have handled it a long time ago. And if my arithmetic is correct, we're talking about a $400,000 bonus to the salaried employees if we don't find a way to divide by 27 instead of 26.
All right. Any other comments? Okay.
JP Pond.
J.P. Pond.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a little bit troubled about this idea of dividing the salaried employees and cutting them off away from the ones that get paid by the hour. I don't get a salary of any kind, but I'm part of this world that is also, I'm not exempt from the COVID virus any way whatsoever. And it has created hardships on my way of living as much as it has anybody else's. But I don't think we need to be using this COVID issue with some kind of a political lever or anything like that. I really don't think we need to take advantage of a situation where, because these people are on salary, we just don't have to pay them for that extra pay period. Or say, well, we messed up, we didn't figure that in, so I guess you won't get it. I'm not going to hold a dollar down there, or a dollar we were dangling down there last year. Oh, you can't reach that. I'm sorry, I can't go this way. Thank you, ma'am.
Please. All right, thank you, J.P. Pond. All right, J.P. Duncan.
I'm confused how the 27th pay period is related to us looking at creating a new line item in the general fund to have unappropriated reserves. I just don't understand what the correlation is. So am I missing something here?
I don't
They just both
think
have
there is.
to, no, they're separate topics for discussion, but I mean, we do have to do the 27th payroll. So I was just showing what it would look like.
So by me voting to create a new line item that will have no impact on how I feel one way or the other about a 27th pay period, correct?
That's my assumption on this ordinance 10.1. You're just agreeing or not agreeing to create a general reserve fund.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear because I think
These others are just scenarios for y'all to discuss and look at.
Sure. So I agree with a few of my colleagues on this 27th pay period, but let's stick to the matter at hand. We need to vote on 10.1. So I move to pass.
All right.
Do we?
Doing 10.1, and this is just to add the general reserve fund to the budget.
JP Harbison?
Yes.
This is Bobby again. Still Article 2, I think needs to be addressed before it's passed or declined one way or the other.
4.5.
What is it? Part of the, okay, JP Deacon?
I make the motion that we amend Article 2 by striking all unappropriated reserves to said fund and replacing with $4.5 million to said fund. Our treasurer's guidelines for that amount of money.
Second.
All right, Bobby, will you explain that, please? What it means?
Which part? The
4.5
4.5 million?
in the reserve, is that what you're?
Yeah, Treasurer Hill said
Yes.
in Article 2 by law, he needs an exact amount
Right.
of money instead of
Right.
all unappropriated reserves. So my motion is to put in the 4.5 million, which is what he's
Okay.
recommending here
Right.
in the materials.
That's correct, all right. All right, I have a motion, did I have a second?
You had 2 seconds.
Okay.
Sam Duncan seconded.
All right. Further discussion?
On the motion to amend.
What,
The vote will be on the motion to amend.
to amend, to add 4.5?
Correct.
All right, the motion to add the 4.5.
JP Eva Madison.
JP Eva Madison.
I wondered if we could have JP Deacons repeat his amendment. I just wanted to make sure I tracked it better.
Yeah. Line 24 of the ordinance, I make a motion that we amend by striking all unappropriated reserves and replacing it with $4.5 million, which would make that line, treasurer shall transfer $4.5 million to said fund.
Okay, Treasure Hill, if we put it in unappropriated reserves, then, there's nothing, there won't be anything left in the general reserve fund. Is that correct?
No, there will be, depending on which scenario you look at, approximately 500,000 to 800,000 would be remaining in the reserves that y'all could, do adjustments throughout the year and that kind of thing. So yes, there would still be unappropriated reserves in the main 1,000 fund.
Okay. Any further discussion? JP Madison. Eva Madison.
Chair, I wondered if we should make it clear that it's just the money that we're getting from CARES. I mean, I know that Treasurer Hill thinks we'll get the full request, but if that weren't to happen and it's written into ordinance that it's a specific dollar amount, I'm not sure that's really what our intention is.
Well,
That's a separate issue, JP Madison. That's a separate,
Okay, well,
4.5 million going into general reserve won't have anything to do with the coronavirus relief. It's just, coincidentally, it's 4.5 million also.
Okay, well, that's what got me confused. Okay, thanks.
So if y'all wanted to, you could have, if you put that all in reserve, if we got it all, you could have 9 million in reserve.
Any other discussion? All right, the amendment is to put in $4.5 million. Ms. Patty, call the roll, please.
Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Shonda Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
Sure.
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
and Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
That's
This
the
passes.
first.
All right, that was 10.1.
Well, now you're got to vote on the motion to pass
Oh.
10.1 as amended.
Oh, as amended, I'm jumping the gun here. All right, Ms. Patty,
You got a public comment? Public comment?
First, is there any other comment on the court? All right, public comment. Okay.
Wait, got one right there.
Josh McConnell.
I don't know if it's the right time to speak about it, but my name's Josh McConnell. I have been an employee with Washington County, from the Lincoln area, been employed with the Sheriff's Department for over 20 years, and we talked about salary and stuff like that. And I happen to be one of the salary personnel. And to do away with a extra pay period, as you all call it, and I understand where Lance is coming from as far as salary space, even though some of y'all say 26 pay periods a year, I think salary should be split on 365 days a year. Because it don't matter if I don't work Mondays and Fridays. I work on Saturdays, I work on Sundays, my pay's the same throughout the year. So I think to come in and say, we're gonna do away with this extra pay, as some of y'all call it, which I can see where it comes from on that. To say we're gonna do away with that, that would put some people that don't make a lot, not getting one paycheck in December, or one paycheck if they do it this year. If they do it next year, that reduced my hourly rate. Which some of y'all say, well, I'm salary. Well, I also work overtime, and I get hourly rate based on that for the university and stuff like that. I think if you want to try to fix something that's been going on for years, if you look at the first, get paid on the 1st and the 15th, and split it that way from here on out, that might be something you could look at. But I'd say just to do away with somebody that makes $30,000 a year on a salary base and expect them to go on, it's gonna be hard for them. I just want y'all to take that in consideration when y'all look at this 27th pay period. Is my big concern. But I totally understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate all of y'all. I'm here on a lot of these meetings, and I appreciate everything that y'all do. And I understand y'all have hard decisions. But as an employee and as a community of the county, I have hard decisions every day too. And there's a lot of us that live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. So take it for what it's worth, and I appreciate y'all listening.
You're here tonight working on your salary, right? That's what I thought. It's true.
But I do appreciate all of y'all, so I do appreciate it.
Thank you. We need to vote on 10.1 as amended.
You need a motion?
Okay. We had a motion, I think.
Second. Roll call. Okay.
Ms. Patty, we call the roll.
JP Harbison, I had JP Duncan made the motion, but who made the second?
Second, Lemming.
Lemming, okay,
Let me put down J.P. Lemming.
thank you. Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Shonda Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison, Eva Madison?
Yes?
Yes, okay. Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
Yes.
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
This ordinance passes.
Okay. Guess we're ready for the ordinance setting controls for the 2021 budget. Do we need Bobby Hill? Are you still there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
I'm not sure. Okay. All right. I'll see what we've got. We have an ordinance, 28, an ordinance setting controls for the 2021 budget. And if it's correct that for that budget, page 32, elected official steps, 130 a month, raises included 27 pay period, in 2021, salary not included. Now that is page 26 on setting controls for the budget, correct?
I'm lost. I thought we were on item 11.
Yeah, we are.
Well, we got all this stuff in here and I was like, we're on 10, an ordinance creating Fund 1001, General Reserve in the Washington County budget for 2020.
I believe that.
We just done that.
I believe that passed.
We just done that.
Yes, that passed, but then, is this other information in here only for information to be used later? Because it's not,
No, that was different scenarios.
yeah, I know,
That was out.
different scenario.
Point of
Yeah.
order.
Well, each scenario has a different, depending on what you decide, may have to ask Shannon to be more specific, but the way I understand it is each budget summary, if you look behind it, is the budget controls and the percentages that we discussed in earlier meetings. These percentages change with each scenario.
Parliamentary inquiry,
Yes.
this
Go ahead,
ordinance has passed out of this committee already and is before the full quorum court. I believe it's on a second reading. So I really do not understand the procedural posture of having it be back before committee in an altered form.
Okay.
And in the versions that we're looking at are not like the versions that are before the quorum court.
Okay, that's why this was put in tonight, for you all to look at. And it's really not on the agenda, so therefore, we're really not voting on them. And that's my mistake. This will be voted on later at the quorum court meeting. So,
I also believe that JP
Let's
Washington
move on.
asked that her
Let's
name
move on.
be removed from this.
All right.
So I think it needs to be updated.
it has been updated. Okay, let's move on to 11. An ordinance levying the county municipal and school district taxes for the year 2020. And that's number 11. This is something that we're asked to do every year. It gives all the list of all the school districts Are there any, and the county's, millage? All right. Is there any further discussion or questions? Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we pass ordinance 11.1.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All right. Further discussion. J.C. Pond.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Madam Chair, have there been any changes made in this, in these millages from last year?
I don't know which school districts may have had millage increases that they, as far as I know, there are no county changes. Now, there
Okay.
may be changes in the school districts from elections that they have held.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, we're having difficulty hearing the people in the quorum courtroom. I was unable entirely to hear the motion that was made, so just an FYI.
The motion was made to pass the millage for the school districts and for the county. 11.1. Not being any, public comment. Is there any public comment?
Did you get a second?
Yes,
Yeah.
No public comment.
Willie. Seeing no public comment, Patty, will you please call the roll?
Cam Duncan,
Yes.
Chandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins. Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
Well, they're all too high, but yes.
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
No.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Passes.
All right. Ready to move on to, 11A, which was an ordinance recognizing additional revenue in the amount of $67,036.07 in the general fund in 2020, and appropriating that amount from the general fund to various line items in the sheriff's budget for 2020. This is where the sheriff's department has done things in the community where they've been paid, and they're putting this back, we're putting this from the general fund back into the sheriff's, fund. Do I have a motion to pass?
Motion to pass.
Second.
I have a motion to pass. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Ms. Patty, will you please call the roll?
Cam Duncan,
Yes.
Chandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Willie Lemming,
Yes.
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas, Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
This passes.
All right. We are now ready for budget review. Is Mayor Bruce Ledford on? Mayor Ledford? You may speak.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for having us tonight here. I wanted to bring before you here on the District Court of Elkins. When we started out in 2015, 16, we had court approximately one time a month. We are now having court once each week. The number of cases heard is really increased over the years there. And so Elkins has up to this date in 2020, we have 449. Goshen has 153. Washington County has 858 cases. In 2019, Elkins had 480. Goshen had 454. Washington County had 1,183. What we're asking tonight is that we go 1/3 on this cost of operating the court, and which would cost the county $19,535.21 more a year. And this is just to cover the expenses that we are incurring with the printing, the copying, the consulting group, Preferred Office Technology, Judge's Hotspot, and Krista Watts' salary, a third of her salary, which is the deputy clerk.
And the rest of the Alexis' salary.
And the rest of Alexis' salary, the court clerk's salary. And so anyway, I think Goshen has agreed on this here, but we just needed to get Washington County on board. And as things increase, we've been bearing the cost of this for quite some time, and it's getting a little bit more than we can handle ourselves. So we're asking tonight for $19,535.21.
Okay, thank you. So you're asking for a third of a salary for a clerk, and then a third money for a copier and computer and Judge's Hotspot. All right.
That's correct.
All right.
Billed quarterly.
No.
And we'd like to bill this quarterly.
Okay, quarterly. Okay, I think that if we look at our revenue on page, whatever, 23. I should have had it smart. If we look at 7492, Elkins brings into the county $65,000 a year. Or that's what's been estimated in courts and fines, and this is supposed to be used for the administration of justice. So, Mayor Ledford asked me to put him on the agenda to make his case. All right, are there any, okay, J.P. Deacons.
I have to admit, I'm pretty ignorant to the context of this. Is this normal for us to fund these district courts like this?
We already fund 1/3 of the clerk there, and they're asking for an additional 1/3. Yes.
I think I agree with, I believe it's Justice Ecke who said I'd like to see something more formalized and in writing about this before I consider it any further. I also would like to compare this to the arrangements we have to the other district courts in our county just to see how this compares. I mean, I just have no context on this whatsoever.
Do I have any further comment? J.P. Pond.
Yes, ma'am. To make sure I understood this correctly, as he gave the report about how many county cases are coming in there, well over a third of the cases that they're hearing are are county cases. But then, you know, they have a portion from Goshen and a portion from Elkins, but they're only asking us for a third of the expenses. Is that correct? I know we don't have any numbers to look in front of us.
Yes, Butch, that is correct. I sent the breakdown of all this to Ms. Harbison there. And anyway, it's broke down in each area. But yes, you're correct. And the county is the major user of this court out here. We were just operating one time a month till this here increased. Now we're at 4 times, and sometimes in the 5th week, we also have some cases there too. So that's,
Okay.
it's got to be, we're not asking for anything for the cleaning of the rooms, the electricity, the water, the sewer, anything like that. We just want to operate of the court.
So if we're only doing a third of it, and the Goshen and Elkins are doing the other 2/3, it sounds kind of like we're still getting a really good deal. And
I think you are, Butch.
Well,
I will trade with you if you want to trade.
No, I don't want to do that, but I'll go along and say we need the numbers on paper to look at before we, you know.
Who would you like to have them forwarded to, Mr. Butch?
The quorum court secretary, and so Ms. Harbison would have a look, see at them, and the rest of us, they would pass them along to all of us, and also.
All right.
That way
you will have those,
Well, we can.
County judge staff will be looking.
You will have those next week, Mr. Pond.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Ledford.
Mayor Ledford, I apologize. You gave me this information this last week, and I did not get that to Patty. I did get you on the agenda, but I failed to get that information out. I apologize to the court. So I think, you know, we probably, you know, will postpone this. Do I hear a motion to post? Okay. JP Eva Madison.
Madam, I just think we all need to be discussing, well, first of all, I have no doubt that the mayor is accurate in his statistics and that this funding formula, however it is, needs to change. But this is again a state function that is continually coming back on the counties. The state took over district court responsibility recently, restructured all the courts and how the judges are elected. I know there were some cost savings to the county in that because they took over some salaries that we had always been paying a portion of. But this is one of those areas where we need to be turning to the state and saying, pay your obligations, fund your courts, don't pass the buck to the counties. So I understand why the mayor is here asking us, because the legislature seems to be unresponsive to those types of requests. But counties can't keep footing the bill for state purposes. And so I'm anxious to see the additional information provided. I wish we'd had it tonight. So I'll go ahead and make the motion to table this until our next finance meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carried. Thank you, Mayor Ledford. And I apologize again for not getting that information out to the court.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. We appreciate you.
Okay, okay. Okay, the next thing we have, I put this on here, and this was funding discussion on the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. I think we need a coordinator. I know the judge has formed the committee, but in our research that came back, they said that we really needed someone that was not involved politically, that this needed to be a non-political job, and it needs to be someone that can work with our criminal justice system and try to get some of these reforms in. I'm a little disappointed, we had the, Upstart? Uptrust. And, that's, the judge signed that in July, and it's still not up and going. So, you know, unless we see that these things function, they're not gonna function. And so I brought this for discussion of how you feel about this. So here we are.
Are you here to try to come up with money to,
Well,
or somebody to put them in this?
well, we need for this committee to function, and I don't know if we can really appropriate any money before there is a position, or if they're going to do a position. We do have Judge Zimmerman here. I'll put her on the hot spot. I know the committee's just formed, and, you know, so it's really hasn't set its agenda, so to speak, and what, you know, we hope to gain from this committee and the reform that we hope that happens and streamlining of the criminal justice process in Washington County. Yes, J.P. Johnson.
I'm on the committee.
Oh, okay, good.
I was at the meeting. There were lots of things discussed. There were no decisions made. When I first saw this on the agenda, I thought the discussion might be premature, but I've changed my mind in the sense that it might make sense to appropriate some monies so that when and if committee decides what they need, the monies are available. And I say this in light of the fact that we're gonna have a new court in 2 months. Now, we talked about part-time, we talked about full-time. I think the truth is we're several months from making that decision. And the reality is, unless the elected officials on that committee give the authority to that employee has no authority. So I think in my mind, that's key.
Well,
he's got to decide what they need, and the question in my mind is, do we set monies aside today for when that day comes, or do we deal with it?
Actually, it's boring me today.
I don't know. Hold on.
So anyhow, I guess that's
Well, you know,
a long way of saying I've got mixed emotions whether we appropriate the money, because we don't have any idea what it's going to be used for today, but it might make sense to have it available for them when the time comes.
and if they don't use it, then it just stays in a unappropriated reserve. And, you know, I just feel that for us to really move forward, there's gonna be at least 5 new people on this court, and they might not, you know, agree. It takes a while for people on the court to get up to speed on what's going on. All right, J.P. Yanez.
Just a couple of comments. I know you mentioned that, I don't know who it was that spoke, that it's not convenient to have the elected officials on there, but request applications for people that would want to volunteer their time. I'm sure we have knowledgeable, experienced people in our community that we're not aware of, and also having a selection committee that is not, you know, going to be formed by an echo chamber that could select these individuals. I wasn't part of that meeting, so I can't say anything further, but those are my 2 suggestions.
All right, J.P. Deacon.
One thing, I don't remember, I don't know if you remember, but we have a contact in the Public Defender's Office that was overseeing the Uptrust implementation. Her name is Miss Leanna Houston. A lot of you might know her. and she sends me emails every now and then on update on Uptrust. I think they just run into some software issues and just implementation issues of building that program into Uptrust. I think they're making progress. What she told me was they were hoping to go live this week, I believe. So there's progress being made there, but like everything, it's slow. Switching gears, if you talk about effective criminal justice coordinating committees that have been done before, this is not recreating the wheel. They all have a role. A facilitator is a term that they use a lot. I do think there's going to be a need that this committee has its own resources to do its work. And I kind of echo what JP Johnson said, that I want them to drive that process and ask us what we need, but I also think it's very prudent of us to make the commitment to this committee's success. We've come this far on this journey, and I want them to have what they need. So I'm all for it. We could get an idea of what we think would be a good start, but I completely support the idea of giving this committee some seed money for success. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, JP, Eva Madison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So obviously, I wanted to discuss this a few weeks ago, so I think it's an important discussion that we're having, but we were promptly rejected and told the judge had this under control. And while I support the efforts in the area of the criminal justice reform, and I support many of the recommendations from the study, I don't think we ought to be blindly appropriating money unless we know what it's for. I mean, we don't do that. We don't just say, here's $20,000, tell us if you need it. I mean, this body can express its support and express a willingness to fund. But how do we appropriate money if we don't know what line item it goes for? I mean, that's not appropriate. So, I mean, I'll voice my support for hearing a proposal from the committee, whether it's to hire someone full-time, part-time, whatever that may be. But we need to see a proposal. We need to see what it will cost, and we need to see what line items it will go to. Because we don't need to be in the business of appropriating money unless we know what it's for. Thank you.
Okay, JP Jenkins, did you have your hand up? Oh, okay. All right, I just feel that that we need to let the committee know that we are supportive and that we have some seed money available. I just don't want the committee to go away, so to speak. Anyway, so it's been a good discussion. Okay. I guess we'll move on. Unless there are other comments.
JP Yanez.
Okay. JP Yanez.
Thank you. JP Johnson, since you're on that committee, is there any way to see or investigate like prior seed money to these kind of committees so we can have an example of what was used to start those committees? But because this committee might not know what's coming forward because we've never done this work in the area. Just an opinion.
I'll see what I can find out.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
JP Jenkins.
Who?
JP Jenkins.
JP Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is for JP Yanez. I requested the suggestion from the committee of who to look to for examples, and I have that written down. So when I find that, I will send that out to all of us. It's not in this notebook that's in front of me, but it's in another, and I'll send that out.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam
Time out. Can somebody tell me what she just said? This audio was terrible tonight.
She just said she had some information that she would get out.
Okay.
From the Criminal Justice Court, the group that did the study, I had asked them if they could give me an example of another county or system that we could contact and kind of get information from, and they gave me that a couple names. I wrote those down, so I was just telling that to JP Yanes.
All right. JP Ecke?
I do have a question as to whose budget is this going to be assigned to? Or is it going to be divvied up between all the circuit judges?
Well, I don't know. We discussed this, and with Bobby Hill and with, Judge Wood. I have discussed this with them, and we did discuss, you know, where it's, you know, it might go. And it could go in its own line item, or it could go in maybe Judge Zimmerman's, since she's senior judge. So, I mean, it's up in the air.
She's the
It will
youngest,
have to
but
be
she's the senior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
So that still has to be discussed.
that has to be discussed and decided, but, you know, we need to come up with an amount that we think would be appropriate to set aside, for this.
And I understand that, completely. I see both sides of it. My only, pause is, when I first joined the court, I was chastised or told very sternly, you cannot bind one court's decision to the next court, And having this money set aside in a fund just on its own, can lead to misappropriation of that fund, especially when you have one court going out and you have another court going in. So that's, you know, one question that we have to overcome. That happens every time.
Have a budget.
I understand that, but if you don't have somebody controlling the budget or budget line item, and it's just a slush fund, who knows, and then you have a new court.
Well,
Anyway, I have questions, and I think we need to just have a lot more discussion, but I am concerned about just having money just set aside.
Well, you know,
When
it would
we
be
needed to pay
specific.
for our
It is,
employees
you know, I
first.
think what we came down to, Judge Wood said he, you know, could have it in his budget, or, okay.
Well, then let's have some better communication flowing from either the committee to the JPs, because if we are supposed to make a decision, I want all the information. The last meeting that we had, we didn't even have the ordinance or the resolution in our agenda package. And I think, I'm surprised that nobody even made mention of that, seeing that the public didn't even have privy to that information prior to the meeting, but yet there wasn't anybody objecting to it.
I don't know
So, for the
exactly.
sake of communication, I'm just saying it'd be nice to be able to see and communicate as to where this is all going and not just conversation.
Well, that's why we're having this conversation tonight.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
JB, Lemming.
Lance, the committee's all formed, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
We basically just need a leader.
Right.
The committee is going to pick its leader,
And once we get the leader picked, we'll go from there.
and once the leader is picked, the committee will determine what staff assistance they need.
And none of that information has been disclosed.
Okay, that's,
Okay.
so basically we just need a leader.
JP Yanes.
Yes, I just want to reflect a comment JP Ecke made earlier that we're not here to micromanage line items from elected officials. And so JP Johnson's on that committee. He is going to be here on the next quorum court. I fully trust that JP Johnson's going to be there, like we're not spending that money on something the court decided to spend money on. So we can't appropriate $4.5 million and say, let them, you know, do whatever they want with it. We trust them, and then come to this and not have the same trust. So I just wanted to reflect that, JP Ecke.
Thank you. Okay, all right. I guess that's the end of that discussion. Keep in mind, and we'll try to have something more concrete, and I don't know when your meeting's, going to meet again, JP Johnson, but if you would keep us informed, I would appreciate it. All right, let's move on. We've got budget controls. All right, we have changed our, salary to $130 per employee And so the budget controls have to reflect that, and that's on page 3. So I basically went through and changed the 3% to $130. To bring the budget controls up to standards, or what we've done to this point. All right, JP Eva Madison.
Where is this in the packet? Because the items that were labeled budget controls, we discussed already and decided they were in Quorum Court already. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm talking about that the budget controls need to be changed. And now if you want to wait until Quorum Court to do that, that's fine.
No, I just don't know where you are in the packet. The things that I have that are entitled budget controls are ordinances that this committee has already passed, has already decided.
I don't think
they're not what I have normally known as budget controls. I don't know where you're talking about changing to 130.
On page 3 in your budget book, you have an ordinance to establish the Washington County annual budget for the calendar year 2020. All right, those things need to be amended, and that's the only thing that needs to be amended that I know of in that budget. I talked with Brian this afternoon about that.
Okay, so we're not considering the items in our packet that are called budget controls for the item that on the agenda.
Oh, no, okay, no, I'm talking about what we call the old. All right, I don't know what you call these now, since we were calling those other things with the percentages and everything, budget controls.
Well, I just want to make clear that I don't think anybody understood that that's what was on the agenda.
No, that's not.
When you've got budget controls on the agenda and ordinances.
I used old terminology that we've used in the past. So therefore, if we don't want to amend these tonight, then we'll just wait.
Well, I would move to pass these on to the next meeting until people are prepared to discuss what's actually going to be discussed.
Okay.
Second.
Table till next meeting. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Now, we have the road department budget that we have not passed. So we need to pass the road department budget, amend it, or do whatever you want to do, or we will have over 100 people laid off on January the 1st. Now that's, I know some of you have some problems of things going on in the road department, and I think those questions need to be answered, and I think most of those questions have been answered. I'm sure there will be discussion of maybe they haven't been answered to certain people's satisfaction. But do I have a motion to pass the road budget?
So moved.
All right, J.P. Pond. Second. And I have a second from Lisa Eddy. Now, let me emphasize that this is passing the budget. This does not do away with concerns that you may have with certain projects that are going on in the road department. All right, J.P. Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let you know that it's still very hard to hear you. You're breaking.
I'm trying to speak loud. Can you hear me better now?
I don't know if it's a matter of speaking loud or just speaking into the mic better. I'm not sure which.
Well, the mic's right in front of me, and I may put my head down. If I put my head down, then it may not project to the mic. All right, JP, are you finished?
I'm done.
JP, all right, JP Sue Madison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been concerned for about a week now that at a recent committee meeting of this quorum court, where the chairman asked personnel from the road department to appear and answer questions, they chose not to appear and absolutely insulted the integrity of this quorum court and its committees. When I was in the legislature, if a state agency had dared to do such a thing, they could be looking at going into the next year without a budget. And I will not be voting for a budget for the road department until they, in some way, acknowledge how insulting and out of hand that was for them to insult the legislative branch of the quorum court of Washington County.
Thank you. J.P. Deacons.
Thank you so much. In my district, roads are the #1 priority for the residents. I mean, bar none. It's the service the county provides those residents. I know how important these dollars are. I know how important this is. I am also concerned that I think some of us have asked multiple times on multiple occasions some very specific questions, and I do not feel that we've ever gotten answers to those questions. And I mean, this literally keeps me up at night. I'm between a rock and a hard place. I have my constituents who are watching this process and are asking and submitting very valid concerns about the projects of the county, namely the Winslow Dirt Pit. And they're also asking me to protect the funds of the county. I think I cannot advance this budget on without having those questions asked. Primarily, I have asked, what have we spent on that dirt pit and the development of that dirt pit, that operation? And specifically with this budget, what are our plans that we're going to spend next year? We know that we're out of compliance with ADEQ. We got a letter today saying we're being referred to the enforcement division. I think there's got to be some idea of remediation costs that we're going to have out there. I would like to know that before I pass this budget, because any dollar that we have wasted in terms of penalties and fines is a dollar that doesn't go to any of my district's road grading, chip sealing, or asphalting. And I need to know that so that we can make the responsible decisions before. It's like I'm being backed into the corner to say, pass this budget and then find out the answers to the problems. And I can't do that in good conscience. And that's my problem with it. I can't help it from a timing standpoint. We've been pushed up here on November the 10th without these answers. I don't really feel like that's the quorum court's fault. So that's my position on it. I would ask my colleagues not to advance this until we get a little bit more, a clearer idea of what our commitment is going to be down there and what the remediation is going to be. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other comments? All right.
JP,
I just want to make one comment, and that comment is if we don't pass it tonight, then I'm going to schedule it for next Monday night, and I will specifically ask the road department to be present to answer these questions so we can get this road budget passed. But I want the questions, I want us to be very civil, and I want us to be professional when we do this. Sometimes these types of meetings have degraded almost to name calling. And I do not want that to happen, but I will pursue and I will have someone here next Monday night. I cannot meet Tuesday night because I have a previous commitment. All right, JP, Eva Madison, I think is next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're here tonight specifically to address the fact that we failed to pass the road department's budget at our last meeting. No one is here to answer the questions that were raised. It was a bipartisan, clear vote to turn down the road department's budget. We've heard JP Deacons echo the concerns that he raised. There were questions not only about the Winslow Dirt Pit, but about what the road department's plan is for next year. We give them 40% of our 1% sales tax. They now have a lifetime sales tax that the voters passed, that they are going to get in excess of $1 million a year. And we don't ever get a plan. I've been told for 3 years now that we're working on a 5-year plan, but we've never seen that. I have no idea how we decide our priorities or how we spend the millions of dollars that the road department gets every year. And I find it not only offensive that we're being ignored on the Winslow dirt pit questions, but that the fact that we turned down a budget and nobody's here to justify it. But now we're going to have to pay to have another meeting so that the road department can get a third shot at passing their budget.
Well, do we not want to pass the budget, not pass it at all, not meet at all?
It failed last time, and if they wanted it passed, they should have been here, or they should have been working to answer JP's questions since then. The fact, I mean, every time we meet, it costs $3,000.
Thank you, Eva Madison. Okay, who's
JP.
next? Judge Wood? All right.
Well, I saw JP with Lemming's hand up. I want to make sure we hear from him as well.
Well, okay, JP Lemming?
I just want to know how your budget's going to end this year, because I've heard whiffs and tells that the road department right now is probably in the hole about $500,000 on all the special projects and all the things that's going on. Is any truth to that, or is the road department budget going pretty smoothly?
No, that is not anything that I'm saying. So to address again, we walked through the road budget probably 2 months ago. And then again, I walked through it, and I wanted specific questions. And I think that we did. The question was asked, what are the road projects that we completed this year? And what is some of the projects coming up next year? What is that going to look like? I think we shared that with you guys. We did about 10.5 miles of new construction. This year, we'll do about the same, almost 11 miles of new construction. Next year, we kind of allocated and shared that with you guys, what that would be. The chip and seal program, we kind of laid that out, what that would all look like and what that would run as far as how much, roughly almost $4 million in asphalt and about another $4 million in the chip and seal. So again, a lot of that has been shared. The big one is the dirt pit. And I just don't know what more that I can share with you guys. That yes, JP Lemming hit me up and said, hey, will you look in and check and see what's going on? I did. We shifted some personnel pieces because again, I think it was necessary. Got in contact with ADQ. I think of probably a few days later, Sue Madison did the same thing. ADQ has responded. They came out, they did the review, they shared with us their findings. We responded, we shared the response, we shared the findings with you guys, we shared the response to you guys. They have come back and said, hey, we still need some more information. Garber is working on what those additional information is. Hey, the pond that you guys have, they don't think it's big enough. You guys got to come up with another drawing to make sure it does meet what we're expecting. And so we're doing those things. And again, if it's going to be violations, it's going to be ADQ who's going to do that. They have not levied any fines. They have not taken permits away from the county, across the county. We got a lot of roads, as you know. We got a lot of permitting that we have to do across the county. And we get a lot of work and a lot of input from ADQ constantly as far as what work we're doing and how we're doing it. So anyway, I don't know what more. So if you're saying that you want the road department to come in and tell you exactly what I've been sharing since we started, I don't know what more they're going to add to it. If there's a specific allegation that you're wanting to say, ask me what that is or send that to me so we can address that specifically. I know we looked up, run cost estimates up and got that to, I can't remember if it was a JP Deacons or JP Lemmings, as far as how much did the pit cost and does it cost us less to run it somewhere else versus having it there at Winslow. So we provided a lot of that. But again, if we're saying we want some additional, or there's some allegations of some sort, I just need to know what those specifics are. Send those so we can go ahead and do the research. But as far as what has gone on at the pit, what has ADQ found, what was our response, how are they working with us as we work with any permitting process? We work with them until they have what they need to approve what we're working through and on. Thank you, Chairman.
Judge Wood, since the department is under your direction, and you speak for all of your departments, not just the road department, but all other departments, do you feel that that's adequate for the foreign court?
Absolutely, unless there's some specific question, and I'm just asking, what is that specific question? Please send it to me so we can address that. But as far as the budget, as far as the work that we're doing across the county, the roads that we're doing, the new construction that we're doing, the plans that we have done, completed this year, and what we got planned for next year, we have all that, and we have gotten that out to you guys. But anyway, that's my response, yes.
All right, so I'm going to withdraw my request.
Madam Chair.
No, I am speaking. Excuse me, please. I'm going to withdraw my request for a meeting next Monday night. All right, JP Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify first of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify about what happened at the County Services Committee meeting that I held. The Roads Department wasn't contacted, as far as I know, about coming to get questions from us, because I contacted judge's office to ask for information on how to contact them. And I was returned an email that stated that the judge speaks on behalf of his employees. And so if there were any questions, I should come to him. But the whole purpose was to have the Roads Department come so that these questions filled it. And I don't understand why these county service department heads aren't allowed to come and speak to us personally and ask questions and have a back and forth conversation. And I don't understand that. I don't feel like that is being honest or being clear with our constituents, or if they have questions, why can't we speak with these people? The same thing happened with the animal services. I asked for her information so that I could invite her to the meeting, and I was given the same response. It doesn't seem right to me. And I got 2 letters of updates from both departments, which was very much appreciated. And I shared those letters with all of you. However, when we have questions, we should be able to ask the person who is out there doing the job, not the county judge. I understand you're the head, but this is not, there shouldn't be a roadblock between us and them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I know Judge Wood is running the county like he wants to. He's been elected to do that. He's doing it a lot differently than what we've done in the past. And we have not really questioned department heads since he's been county judge. I think that's his prerogative to do that. So that's my spiel. All right, JP Pond.
I wouldn't know where to begin on this discussion and what went on at the County Services Committee meeting. It seems that the folks that were there did not understand a thing that was in the written statement from the county judge and the road department pertaining to the dirt pit, the ADEQ, and all of that. Maybe a little bit is lost in the translation concerning the definitions And the kind of wording that is used by ADEQ and how they operate, any kind of minor situation that comes up, first of all, you got to understand, if the ADE or you are working with the ADEQ, you apply for a permit from them. The first thing you have done is invited them to come in and look and see and give you directions as to what they require you to do. And as you go along in the process, they come by periodically to inspect what you are doing and what you have done. Also, concerned onlookers may contact them and have special visits made. Now, all of this has been done. And I really don't think the ADEQ is at fault. I really don't believe some members of the public and maybe some members of the court, maybe you don't understand. When the ADEQ calls some situation out of compliance, what that means is they are here to help you, give you directions how to get back in compliance. That does not mean that they have labeled you a bad actor. That does not mean that they have accused you of something criminal. That simply means that you're there, like I said, they're there to instruct you as to how to get back in compliance. Now, I respectfully I appreciate the county judge giving us another update. I certainly appreciated the written report we received at County Services, but maybe those items mean more to me. I've dealt with ADEQ before. I think we might have another quorum court member or two that possibly understands the language. I really don't believe there is anything really out of line about the way that the county judge is wanting to operate or run his department. Thank you.
All right, John. Thank you, Butch. All right. JPC Madison.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First, let me point out that indeed, the road department is under the supervision of the judge. However, the legislative branch, that is the quorum court, controls the money. And to some individuals, money matters. And with all due respect, I do not think the Finance Committee is the appropriate place to have a discussion about the road department. That attempt was made by County Services. I think that is certainly the appropriate committee to look at this issue. There are other issues that come up with the road department. They have engineers. We've hired Garver engineers to help with the road department. Where has Garver engineers' participation in any of these projects been? Were we following the recommendations of licensed professional engineers? I submitted a list of questions many meetings ago when this issue first came up, asking specific, and I've gotten the answers to virtually none of them. That has been ignored. I sent a copy to every JP and the judge. I think we need to ask some people at the road department, how has their treatment been of female equipment operators when they were employed? And I think it is important that all JPs and the public get to know the answers to these questions. For one or two individual JPs or the judge to ask a few questions is not satisfying the public. And we have an obligation to the public. There have been several newspaper articles about this with raising questions that have yet to be answered. And we owe it to the public as well as to people in the road department who may need exonerating. Why we have these issues. Why have we not gotten the permits we should have gotten from DEQ? And Madam Chairman, I appreciate you wanting to do this at finance. That is frankly not the appropriate committee. Finance means finance. And if you want to talk about holding their budget, I'll help you do that. That's all I have.
All right. JP Eva Madison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know that any of us can say it any better than the way the newspaper editorial said it this past weekend. This body has asked questions, the public has asked questions, and we do not have answers. And what Judge Wood said to us tonight is not an answer. We have asked questions. We don't need to make allegations or ask new questions. Specific questions have been asked by JP Lemming, by JP Madison, by JP Deacons. What equipment was down there? How much equipment was used? How many hours of worker time were spent? The concerns we've heard are that there was work going on outside the permitted area. That is a big deal. Being referred to enforcement by DEQ is a big deal. I don't know that it's necessarily bad faith, but it's not complying with the law. And the answer we got from Judge Wood in the written letter was what was going on in the permitted area. And we want to know what was going on in the not permitted area, what equipment was used, what people were used, how many hours were used, and what was the benefit to the county. JP Deacons has asked repeatedly, is this really financially worthwhile? And we haven't heard that answered. The fact that we have a chip and seal program is not news to me. I've known that for several years. I think it's high time, with the millions of dollars that we give to the road department and the 40% that we give them of our general purpose sales tax, that we see a road plan, not how much is going to be spent on asphalt, not how much is going to be spent on chip and seal, but what roads will be improved. That shouldn't be hard. We're told that there is a plan in the works. So if anybody thinks they've heard new information tonight, then I've been permanently muted because I can't hear a thing. I didn't hear anything new tonight. We deserve answers. And
I have a motion.
I'm sorry, I wasn't finished talking. But to say that we haven't asked questions and that we need to share the questions is just completely ignoring what has happened on this issue since September. All you had to do is sit through the last budget meeting where this body, in a bipartisan fashion, turned down the road department budget and asked for more information. And that information has not been forthcoming in a public context. If individuals on the court have obtained information, it has been behind the scenes, in private, not where the public can know the justification for the budget. So at some point, we have to actually be the legislative branch and take responsibility for the millions of dollars we
Do I
spend.
have a motion to pass the road budget?
I did.
Oh, you did? All right, do I have a second? All right, the motion failed for a lack of a second. All right, public comment. Do you have any public comment?
Come on.
Beth Coger.
Okay.
We got one right here.
Oh, okay, Judge Zimmerman.
Okay, so while Norma stated it earlier, we were unaware of the $130 we were unaware of the $130 per month increase that you all are gonna pass. And so I did the math, and I've learned my lesson. Whenever math's involved, I go to Justice Deacon, so I don't embarrass myself like I just did a moment ago. But that is going to be a little more than what we were asking for, so we're taking our 3% request off. So it would just be the passage of the ordinance with the rating things that has nothing about the 3%.
Okay, very good, thank you. Something positive. All right, any other public comment?
Beth Coger.
Beth Coger, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to address about the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. The National Institute of Corrections recommends a hired staff for the CJCC. This is in addition to a facilitator that will be on the committee. We need this staff to organize, collect data, do research, and bring it to the committee, because the committee members don't have time or access or the knowledge actually to know what to look for. The NIC will. All successful CJCCs have paid staff. To be clear, that's not the facilitator selected by the board. I'd also like to remind this court that if those jail ordinances had passed last year, and many of you spoke in favor of those numerous times, and if they'd been approved by the voters, that 3/4 cent sales tax would have cost Washington County taxpayers this year alone $33,225,000. So I think we need to remember that when we're talking about funding for the CJCC. Also, at last meeting, JP Yanez asked for a resume or background information on the CJCC board members, especially with regard to their work in social justice work. I would ask that JP Yanez please share that information with the public. It will help build public trust in the committee. On another topic, which JP Madison addressed just now, Judge Wood asked that you submit your allegations or questions to him. Well, it shouldn't be that way. Those should be shared in public at this meeting or at such public meeting whenever they come before the court. Actually, what happened tonight is the court is being gaslighted. I'm sorry. That's what it amounts to. Thank you.
All right, any other public comment?
Sherry Main.
All right, do I have a, yes,
Sherry Main. Sherry.
make a motion to adjourn?
No.
Oh.
Sherry Maines want to speak.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just a second. I'm gonna pull up something I shared with the Quorum Court today in an email. Most of you have it if you read it, but anyway, I was going to read it verbatim, but I won't. Pretty much got it memorized what it says, because I've been following the Winslow dirt pit and their compliance issues. As you all may not be aware, I'm very familiar with the DEQ, and Butch Pond spoke on it in his understanding of the operations of the DEQ. There are dirt pits in this area that have had compliance issues, that have been in a CAT, which is a complaint assistance program where the DEQ assists them to get back into compliance. The county has been in that for the past year, trying to get back into compliance with DEQ. They are not in compliance after a year. So now the last letter dated November the 2nd of 2020, just last week. Actually, the letter was written on the day of the meeting last Monday, and it was emailed to Judge Wood from the DEQ Enforcement Analysis that the Winslow pit is still out of compliance. It is out of the boundaries permitted under the mining permit. So therefore, they requested that an engineer, a professional engineer, give them a new survey, a new stormwater drainage system that's developed, and exactly what they plan to do to fix the mess they have caused in the out of compliance area that's not permitted. So that was in the letter that was sent on the 2nd of November. And in that letter, it also stated that because of the ongoing compliance issues that they have had with the county, the Enforcement Analysis is forwarding this case, that case on the Winslow pit, to enforcement. What enforcement is we have given you a chance to get in compliance. We have worked with you. We have assisted you. We have answered your questions. We have given you the tools you need to get in compliance. You are not. So the enforcement then looks at it, and the legal department, to see if any fines, penalties to be assessed needs to happen. You can't just get a slap on the hands and say, don't do it again. I mean, this all is public record at the ADEQ portal on their website. I have personally read mines in this area that were not permitted up to code with DEQ, the Greenboro Road one, for example.
All right, thank you. Your time's up. Do we have any other comments?
Motion to adjourn.
JP Lemming.
Are we about done?
Motion to adjourn.
No.
There's a motion to adjourn that has to be taken. It's not debatable.
No second. Well, I didn't see his hand up. My apologies. Can I withdraw it?
Yes.
I withdraw it. I apologize.
JP Lemming, you're recognized.
Bobby Hill, are you still on?
Probably
He's
not.
on, but let me let him back on to speak.
Let me just ask one question.
Well, this is public comment, so technically you can just make comments.
Okay, well, fine, I'll just make a comment. It was brought to my attention that, it's time to start to pay Motorola to get our infrastructure started on our radio system. And I made the comment to the person that called me and said that we need to get an ordinance ready to do that. And I said, well, before I make an ordinance to just hand out $2 million to somebody, I would like to have a contract, and I would like to have a payout schedule of what we're getting for the money that we're paying out. And we're going to have to appropriate the money to get that deal started, but I would like to have from someone a copy of the signed deal with Motorola, and I would like to have a payout schedule to how this all is going to be paid out as we go for the year. I'd like for all of us to have that as court members so we can see where we're spending the $10.4 million when it's all said and done. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
All right. We are adjourned.
So you want me to send it to you again? Or just?
If it's 700 and some pages, no, I don't want that.
Okay, that's the biggest part of the contract.
Okay, so do I need to go through there and dig out